Yo, it's nothing. Let's get right into it, y'all. Let's talk about my league start. How's it going, right? Starting a new skill. You're seeing it in the background. It's gonna look real fucking good, right? Quick little notes before we talk about the build, though. Later on, I'm gonna go through the character a little bit and show you guys how I made this work so well. Before that, though, just a quick couple of things about the things that have changed that I felt so far about the league. The new campaign stuff is sweet. It's just good quality of life stuff, really. Things that made the early game experience more pleasurable. That was a huge boon. Thank you, GGG. Keep it up. Necropolis, fantastic job with the tuning here. I so far have felt no animosity towards the league mechanics tuning, and that's a huge plus considering that we're forced to interact with it at some level. I do wish the morgue was a little bit easier to interact with and get rid of corpses and stuff. Like it, just having to go there is real aids, and seeing the menu every map is a little aids, but like whatever, it'll be fine. The devoted modifiers feel great. The haunted modifiers are not too spooky. The all flame embers are very rewarding for like the difficulty that they can provide. Can not always, but can provide. And the crafting stuff, the couple pieces that I did put together in there were actually kind of cool to put together. They weren't particularly strong because I was just like ticking around, but just the idea behind it is going to be very fun to play around with later today. And now for a very negative section, let's talk about Atlas tree stuff real quick because I do have some very, very strong negative opinions on the Atlas progression right now. It just reminds me of before. It is pre-wandering path progression where you could do everything right and still just get stuck for hours and hours ping ponging between maps you've already completed and tiers that you've already done. And so I do have two takeaways from this to like on things that I can do to make it better on myself in the future, but it does not change my general frustration with the reversion to this experience. Because I'm in here putting scarabs, I'm investing in league mechanics on the tree, and when it works, like I am getting my investment back, but like sometimes I just was not getting my investment back, and I kind of got bailed out by having some pretty like some mid-tier scarabs available to me early on and a little bit of luck, right? I got stuck ping ponging in high yellows, but because I was in high yellows for so long, I finished a set of the card the trial. In that set, you get the T15 map that's corrupted, and I got to run that. It was a difficult boss. You'll see it. You might be seeing it right now. Like I ran a fucking possessed underground river with Fizz's chaos for my first T15. Absolutely slammed it still. Took my last portal because I was being a little dumb with surviving his attacks, but like the actual damage was not the problem in there. So it was just a spooky map, right? It's a ghosted map boss. What do you want from me? And like get that done. But that was hard. Like we got up there, come back down to T9s and T10s and 11s again. Ugh. Well, not even 11s. It took me a little while to finally drop an 11. I ran the 15 trying to get a Keurig mission to just like speed up my progression or something because I just wasn't dropping maps. Then I get the 11 finally, and it takes forever to drop. Then I get a 12, and then we're back down to 9 and 10, and then try to get back to 11. And we get to 13 finally. It was miserable. And in fact, I ran like 4 or 5 Keurig missions total before I finally had enough, like, been able to break back into T15s and 16s, and that's including a ton of maps, lots of 11 to 13s to finally break back into 15 and 16. Where I then I got really lucky on a 13 that falled into a 14 that then the 14 dropped me a 15. That 15 I then juiced with my scarab essentially to drop me a 16, which vaulted into a vault temple and got me out. Which, yes, I actually completed that vault temple in full. Like less than 50 monsters remaining. My boss is dead, right? Like it's a complete, like it was fully completed in that progression state, but it was so rough progressing that way. And so I'm very unhappy with the progression experience on that front. But the progression experience of the build, y'all, oh, I was not playing when I said Ellie Head of the Spectrum feels incredible. I'm a little short on the damage compared to what I PLB'd for, but it's because, of course, like gearing, and I actually decided not to do as much trading as I thought I was going to do because it just felt like unnecessary. I felt like my damage was incredible for what I needed. But we are now obviously going to do some rating out of we're done with Eater Exarch finally. That's where we're at with progression. We are Eater Exarch done, but it took like 16 hours of gameplay, and that's exceedingly long for how strong this character was. So I got to do some stuff to patch up my regression, like maybe sending my horizons earlier or something to just do even more completion and see if I look into something that way. I don't know. It was ridiculous. Now, I'm gonna give you guys a brief overview real quick of the skill before we go ahead and talk about the character, so you guys can just see some more of the footage of what it is. I guess the skill's damage has felt incredible through and through. If my damage was lacking, it was my gear, not the gem. And then the visibility issues with the MTX, do not use, I think it's like the Shadow Stitch or something. I can't remember what it's called, but there is an MTX that makes that blinding white light you see when I'm fighting single targets. You do not want that MTX. That's what's causing it. If you just don't use the MTX, you can actually see enemy models while bossing. Sacred Wisps are an insane support. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. And just generally, the character is feeling fantastic, right? Never bricked the map, never failed a boss. Like everything on the way to Eater X arc has been fucking smooth. Until now, with all that said, let's get into the character a little bit and see how we're doing it. Alrighty, let's talk about the character a little bit. Number 1, level 88, and we've got our 2 watchstones, right? Wasn't kidding. We've got our 2 watchstones. Gear is okay-ish, and I do really mean like okay-ish. Level 88, we have not Uber ascended yet, just didn't seem necessary to me because this is just a free banner. Don't really need the banner quite yet. Probably should have taken it, but like, yeah, whatever. We're still on 4 links, by the way, and we're still precise technique, so there's a lot of damage to be gained very quickly here once we start getting rid of some of this trash gear, like this helmet here, or like even this amulet's actually pretty okay. Like we have some gear that I'm like, ooh, I could really do better than these pieces. And so like that's going to be the big thing. But let's just talk real quick about something special. These 2 gems, the new gems that make this build come to mind, are ridiculous. Sacred Wisp support is extremely strong. Currently at this level, it's a 49% damage increase to my build in single target, and that is absurd to think about. It's extremely strong, and it's also a massive clear booster, as you saw in the footage earlier. Huge fan of this gem. Ellie, Head of the Spectrum, very, very, very overtuned skill gem. Huge fan of this as well. And then just adding this in with Piscators, we have a really strong core that carries some mediocre gearing. Because otherwise, we're still on a lot of the leveling setup, right? The tree, if you remember, this is Balar's leveling tree amalgamated into how I wanted to go into endgame, which is mostly these nodes up here. But we still have like the reservation set up. We're not even running Determine or Grace yet. It's still Arctic Armor, Hero Device, and Precision, right? Like we're in such a rudimentary state of the character. Leaves us a lot of room to get progressed. But I just wanted to highlight where we are now, so you can see these. You'll see these in detail in the description. The POBs for both when I jumped straight into my first red map, which was that T15 UGR with the possessed boss at the end, as well as the POB for when I killed Eater Exarch. So you can see just how little gear we actually got everything done on anyways. Now, what about what's next? How am I going from here? Crit, perseverance, maybe even an Uber lab, right? There's a lot to do very quickly, like matter of hours, like a couple hours of like play and trade, and I could be like much better, much better off character wise. 6 links, I'm able to afford those as we stand and whatnot. Like there's a lot of character power that I held off on getting, even through that terrible progression I mentioned earlier, because I wanted to make sure that I could present you guys with that baseline viability version that I talked about in my previous video. Now that I've provided y'all with that, we're going to get this character really off the ground, because what I want to get to you guys as well is this character doing T17s and even Ubers, right? Like I want to be juicing on this character, and that's going to be where the next video really lies, specific to this character. I have some other stuff that I want to do talking about the league mechanic or other things about this league, but as far as this character in particular goes, the next one will be when I'm killing bosses on this character. Really like, yes guys, this character is fully functional, we love it, right? Now other things, right, just generally getting my offices together and getting things farmed out so that I can afford to go Shroud of the Lightless like I originally planned. I still think it's the best way for me to do this character, just with some things like adding in Yoke at the behest of a great suggestion in the comments, right? Stuff like that is what I actually need to do. And then from there, it'll just be blasting my Atlas completion, getting my watchstones, and getting into the content once we're geared enough for it, right? Like that's going to be where we're headed from here. If you want to see this process live, as I start to work through all of this, I'm going to be streaming like pretty much all weekend. I was already streaming all day yesterday, right? And I'll be streaming all day today and all day tomorrow, as well, as we just like blast as much as we can to get things done. Come in and hang out, ask me some questions if you need, or if you just want to, share your story with the build. Much appreciated, honestly, or even just in the comments on this video. I like to see like what people are thinking about the build so far. If there's things that I missed, things that people discovered that make the build even better than I thought it could be, right? I just want to make this character absolutely insane for you guys. Because I mean, for me, really, if I'm being honest, this is a passion cook that I just happen to share with y'all. I just want to make this incredible, and so that's where we're at. If you like the video, likes always help. Subscribe if you want to see more of what we got going on over here. Again, check me out on Twitch if you want to talk about it, or even come to the Discord and talk about it. Right, whatever you want to do. Maybe it's just you want to watch in silence. Hey, look, I appreciate you from afar. Thank you for watching the video. Have a great one, everyone. I gotta get ready to get back to blasting because, well, this gear isn't gonna upgrade itself. Have a great one, everybody, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.